So in this video, I'm going to be providing you instructions for the Comparing Mass, Volume, and Density Lab. I'm also going to be demonstrating the scaffolding Common Instructional Framework strategy for you. So that means I'm going to actually demonstrate how to do this lab for you, and then once you finish watching the video, you and your lab group will partake and complete this lab. So remember, always put on personal protective or protection equipment. That's your PPE. So your gloves, your goggles, and your apron. So the materials you're going to need for this lab include 3 25 milliliter graduating cylinders. So you're also going to need 10 milliliters of water, 10 milliliters of vegetable oil, 10 milliliters of rubbing alcohol, 2 different types of food coloring. So we're going to be using yellow, and we're also going to be using green. And then you have to have a calculator, and you're going to need a balance. So we can get started. So, step 1, we have to find the mass of the empty graduated cylinder. So you're going to take your graduating cylinder, you're going to put it on your balance. Right now my balance is not going to be stable because it's in my hand. Once you lay it on the table flat, it'll remain stable. You'll measure out your empty graduated cylinder, and we're going to put that amount in grams. Step 2, we're going to measure 10 milliliters of water in the first graduating cylinder and find out what the mass of that graduating cylinder with water is. So we have our graduating cylinder with 10 milliliters of water. So I'm measuring that out. Then I'm going to put that information on my lab sheet. Step 3, we're going to subtract the mass of the empty graduated cylinder from the mass of the graduating cylinder with water. So the amount that you got for step 2, which is the graduating cylinder with water, will go here. Then you're going to subtract step 1, which is the mass of the empty graduated cylinder. That's going to give us our mass of water. So in step 4, you're going to repeat step 3. This means you're going to subtract the mass of the empty graduated cylinder from the graduating cylinder that's going to have vegetable oil. So this is what the graduating cylinder with vegetable oil looks like. You can see it looks a little transparent. And then we have our graduating cylinder with rubbing alcohol. If you're unsure if this is the water or the rubbing alcohol, what you should do is waft, and you should be able to tell the difference with the odor. But you're going to go through the same process. So for the first one, we're going to take the mass of the graduating cylinder with vegetable oil. We're going to subtract the mass without the empty graduated cylinder, That's going to give us the mass of our vegetable oil. Then we're going to take the mass with the vegetable oil, subtract our mass of our empty graduated cylinder. It's going to give us the mass of the rubbing alcohol. So the same thing you did with step 3, you're going to do it again in step 4, but specifically for the vegetable oil and the rubbing alcohol. So next you're going to fill in the chart as you complete the lab. So you see here I already have 10 milliliters filled in, and from my directions I know that I'm going to use 10 milliliters for each substance, so for water, vegetable oil, and rubbing alcohol. Now what you have to do is fill in those masses from when you took the mass of the graduating cylinder with whatever substance, water, vegetable oil, or rubbing alcohol, and you're going to subtract the empty graduating cylinder. That's going to give you the specific mass of each substance. So then you're going to go ahead and answer questions 1 and 2. We'll come back to that, so we'll put that to the side. And then in step 5, you're going to add different food colorings to water and to rubbing oil. To water and rubbing alcohol. So we're going to put green food coloring in the water. I'm going to do 2 drops. And you can stir some to agitate it to get the food coloring to dissolve. And then we have our yellow, and we're going to add our yellow to our rubbing alcohol. So again, you can stir it to kind of agitate it to make sure that the food coloring dissolves all the way through the substance. So then in step 6, it says, next pour the vegetable oil slowly into the graduated cylinder with the water. And then it says, stop and take a picture. So here's my vegetable oil. And here's my water that now has green food coloring. So I'm going to slowly pour the vegetable oil in the water. So this is when I would stop. I would use my phone to take a picture. Everybody can take their own picture in the group if you would like. Notice the differences with the vegetable oil now in the same graduated cylinder with the water. So then it says, then slowly pour the rubbing alcohol into the graduated cylinder with the vegetable oil and the water now. And then we'll stop and take another picture. So our rubbing alcohol is yellow. We'll pour that in slowly. Notice any changes that you see here. This is when you would be taking your picture as a group. So we'll kind of set this to the side. So then it says step 7, find the density of the water, vegetable oil, and rubbing alcohol. So if you look here, you have the density formula, which is density is going to be equal to mass divided by volume. So in your chart before, you should already have your masses filled in. You already have your volumes. Then you're going to do your mass divided by your volume in order to find your density. So by doing so, you'll be able to answer questions 3 through 5. So good luck. Take your time. Make sure you follow directions. You can always refer back to this video if you need help. But you have your group members. You have your directions in front of you. Good luck. And you'll get to see if your product turns out like mine.